Well, Proverbs 22 is going to give us some financial information, some good education to help us in our life. And a lot of these are still applicable today in today's economic world. So pay attention to these. They're going to be a lot of fun. So, okay, verse 1, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So when you're comparing, do I want to be wealthy or do I want to be liked? And not popular necessarily, but liked. Going for being liked, having a reputation of positiveness, of people want to be with you and hang out with you, that's going to last far longer than riches. No one's going to care after you're gone about your riches. But if you are liked, this makes a big difference. Huge, huge difference. I have a friend that he was a mailman, so didn't make any major amounts of money in his life, but he was so kind-hearted to people. It was amazing. When he passed away, he the funeral home actually said in their 30 years of being in the funeral home, they had never seen somebody have so many people come out to a viewing. And it wasn't, again, he wasn't wealthy. He didn't have all his buddies come out because he had money. They came out because he loved them. And he had it was like 3 hours in line for the viewing, at least. And it lasted well into the night. They had to stay open longer because there's so many people who wanted to pay their respects to my friend. So you have to understand that having that good reputation is far better than wealth. It makes a bigger difference. Now verse 2 is an interesting one. The rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. So this is where the rich and poor come together. It doesn't matter how much money you have. One of the commonalities between rich and poor is God is their father. He is the maker of them both. His eyes, they're equal. They both are equally important. And so this kind of gets into the idea of consecration a little bit, that we should be more equal with each other as well. Now, equal doesn't mean same when we talk about the law of consecration. Okay? Equal means needs met, not the same. That's important to always realize, okay? Having everything the same is more of like a socialistic way of thinking about it. Law of consecration is, are your needs met? It's individualistic. It's about the person, not the stuff. So verse 3, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So somebody who is prudent, somebody who is thinking ahead, who is planning for the future, will realize when troubles are coming and be prepared. If you are not, if you're just dealing with the moment as it comes, you're going to have problems. So be careful with that. Now, verse 4, by humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. If you want to have riches and honor in life, then be humble. That's going to help you. God will be a part of that. If you're trying to push your name out there, then you're responsible for your credits. If you are humble and your name gets out there, God is helping you, basically. So fearing God, having respect for God, will allow him to bless you and help you. So be careful, because verse 4 sometimes gets twisted in that gospel of prosperity concept, that those who are rich and have honor and have great lives are humble and blessed of God. It's not a guarantee. Just because they have the money and wealth and the fame doesn't mean they're blessed of God, because there's other ways to become rich without God. So you have to be careful how you're thinking about that. Verse 5, thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. So this is quite general in these things of understanding that, yea, the wicked will be punished, the righteous will be exalted, it'll be great, it'll be wonderful. They're really simplified, and they're not just immediate. Okay? Just because you're wicked doesn't mean your suddenly life falls apart and everything goes bad. Wicked people can thrive and do amazing in this life. This is also accounting for the next life. Probably more so focused on the next life than this life. That the wickedness will be destroyed. There's going to be problems. It's going to fall apart. It won't last beyond your life. When you're dead, that's done. There's nothing else. And what are you going to show for righteousness? You're going to be judged based upon how God views the world, his map of reality, not your map of reality. If you go back to Proverbs 21, we talk about maps of reality a little bit. God's map of reality is where the judgment day comes in. So let's make sure you've got alignment with his map of reality is really important. Verse 6 is great advice. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Build good habits with your kids early on. You know what's the best way to build good habits for your kids? To do those habits yourself. If they see you doing those habits, then they will automatically adopt them as if it's just normal to have those habits. So you cannot raise a child on do as I say, not as I do. That's impossible. That's terrible. You need to raise a child based on what do I want my child to be like and how can I be an example of that for them? That's it. Have good habits. If you put good habits in place, your kids are going to pick up on those good habits and it's going to help them for the rest of their life. Even if they make bad choices, they'll eventually go, you know what, that didn't work out. I should do what I've been taught and fall back on these good habits. So really important to look at. Verse 7, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. This is a hard reality of life. The borrower is servant to the lender. Who's the lender? The person with money. Who's the borrower? The person without money. So it's how that works. And of course, back then, money meant real value, inherent value in the items itself, in the money on its own. So if somebody had money, they literally had money, not just a nice fancy bank account. But this is, and when they lend that money out, this is what happens. If you borrow money from somebody, you're their servant. You're kind of stuck with them. So just always realize that. That's just how it works. Now, verse 8, he that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. Makes sense. If you're always angry and picking fights and going after people, it's not going to work out. It's going to come back and bite you, in fact. Verse 9, he that hath a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. Charity, giving to the poor, going, there's plenty to go around. We can always share. There's abundance around, not scarcity, and we can share. That's a good point. Verse 10, cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out. Yea, strife and reproach shall cease. If you got somebody who's always getting mad, always creating anger and hatred, that might be someone you want to kind of like, okay, I just can't deal with you. I got to keep you out. We just can't do that anymore. Verse 11, he that loveth pureness of heart, for the grace of his lips, the king shall be his friend. Pureness of heart is a good thing to have. Verse 12, the eyes of the Lord preserve knowledge, and he overthroweth the words of the transgressor. So if you notice, a lot of these are, righteous, good, wickedness, bad. The question is who's righteous and who's wicked? That's the problem you're going to run into. And eventually the wicked will be overthrown. Sometimes they will thrive for a while. Verse 13, the slothful man saith, there is a lion without. I shall be slain in the streets. So I'm not going outside. I'm not going to go to work because there's a problem out there that's going to get me. So I'm not going to work. They're coming up with an excuse to not leave and go do stuff. Verse 14, the mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord shall fall therein. So that one is kind of interesting. In the Revised Version, it says the mouth of a loose woman is a deep pit. So strange woman, or loose woman as they say, this is dealing with a foreign person, can also be dealing with like a prostitute, basically, a woman who's not a part of that family group. But realize that you can be sweet-talked into stuff, and if you're not following God, if you abhor God, if you hate God, it's going to get easy to fall into those traps that might be laying for you, basically. So just realize that. And again, this isn't, we want to be careful not to say this is just a problem with women, but admittedly, if a man wants to trick a woman, he's not going to be really good at it. He's just going to force her. He's just going to use brute force to try to get his way with a woman. Whereas a woman is going to use more finesse to convince the guy he wants to do it. And that's what they're talking about here. There's a reason that even in the Greek mythology, the sirens are women. And that plays on relations and interactions and ideas between men and women. But and it's important. Still, it's just as important to be careful of men telling you lies as well, basically. Verse 15, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. So this one's kind of an interesting idea to think about. The rod of correction. So if a kid's gone crazy, then you need to beat it out of him. Some people would say that's what verse 15 means. I don't think that's what it means. I think what verse 15 comes down to is understanding that when people make bad choices, consequences do happen. And it's that natural cause that causes them to go, oh, maybe I need to change. That's why we have that natural cause, is for us to go, oh, this didn't work. We need to be better. If we never had that recourse, we would never learn how to be better and we'd keep doing wickedness. So we need that feedback loop. It doesn't give you justification to beat somebody. You aren't the feedback loop. Let's just understand that. Verse 16, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. So if you, again, try to enrich yourself at the expense of others, you're going to have problems. If you try to, and he that giveth to the rich, if you're always giving to the people who don't need it, you're going to run out yourself as well. Verse 17, bow down thine ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. So good advice to listen, pay attention. Bow down thine ear is to kind of turn your ear, put your ear up to, listen to what I'm telling you. Verse 18, for it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee. They shall withal be fitted in thy lips. That thy trust may be in the Lord, I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. Have not I written to thee excellent things in counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that sent unto thee? So this is the person who's writing these down, possibly King Solomon. There might be some other people that have written some of these as well, or these are the writings of the people who followed King Solomon. This is kind of a section they're going, pay attention to what I'm teaching you. This is important. Now, verse 22, he jumps back into the advice, rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the soul of those that spoiled them. So God's going to handle justice against these people. Verse 24, make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go. So that's kind of that flip on the contentious woman. This is the analogous on the other side of don't deal with people who have anger issues. Come on. You don't have to live around them. Verse 25, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. So again, don't be around these people because you'll get angry and contentious and get mad and angry too. Verse 26, be not thou one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties for debts. So that's getting into the idea of, again, dealing with justice. If you get angry, you're feeling like you're being unjustly attacked or provoked, and so you want to correct justice on other people. And God's like, nope, that's not what your job is. Verse 27, if thou hast nothing to pay, why should he take away thy bed from under thee? Remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. Now this is an interesting point, because in Israel especially, they were actually delineated out. They had markers to show this is the land that this tribe gets. This is the land that that tribe gets. It's their inheritance land. And they're saying, don't change those, basically. Verse 29, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. So again, be careful who you deal with. That's kind of the main message of this one, is be careful with your wealth. Give, be abundant, and be charitable. And don't deal with people who have anger issues, basically. Deal justly, deal honestly, and don't react to those people, basically. That's an important point. The thing that's interesting about being angry is it's hard to be angry by yourself. Usually it's because you feel someone else has slighted you and you want to show that you are better than them or that you can slight them back. So usually anger involves more than just yourself. So, but because of your anger, nobody wants to be around you, so you end up being isolated. And sometimes that can be the signal, maybe I need to change because you like to hang around the happy people, that's not the angry people. So be careful with how you do things. Let's jump over to our next Proverbs as we continue on.